On something new today, and we're going to play with Blender. This here is Blender. We can open it. It opens pretty quickly. You don't necessarily want that there. So what happens when you open Blender, you get this grid view here. And although I am on an Apple, I'm using a PC mouse because you're going to need right click and you're going to need the little wheel. So in order to view your object from all sides, you want to be able to spin the view around. So you press down on the small wheel, you hold it down, and then you rotate the view so you can see the object from any position that you would like to. And then spin it around. If you want to zoom in and out, just spin the wheel backwards and forwards. And a couple things just so you know, here is your light. And here is your camera. And we're going to get to the light in a little bit. I think the camera will do another day. And then right here are your controls. You're going to need to use add. So you can get a mesh and a new cube or a plane or a cylinder. This here is your move tool. There's your cursor. Here's your move tool. So when you want to move something, you just have to highlight it. When you highlight it, it will actually have this orange light around it. So you can move it different places, backwards and forwards, your X, Y, and Z. See, there's your Z axis, moves it up and down. Your Y axis moves it along here. And your X axis this way. And then here is your rotate mechanism. So you can rotate this around any way you like. And here's your scaling tool, so you can make your object larger or smaller along any of the different dimensions. Okay, now I'm just going to delete this, and the way you delete it, you right click and then go delete. And then what I want is another add mesh cube. So start the same. Now you can also work in here. These are where you can get your attributes. And when you highlight something, when you click on this little orange square here, you can also work on the location. You can type it in, or you can just drag along here like that. You can make it go up and down, and you can change the scale of it. Like I could type in here a 2, and it will make it twice as long, and I could type here a 2. And make it bigger in that way, but I want to get everything back down to 1, 1. Or you can just undo things. You can use your Command Z for that. Okay, and the location here, I want that down to 0. So it's back to normal. Now what we want to do is we want to take this and duplicate it. So you right click and it says duplicate object. As soon as you've duplicated it, you can start moving it around. You can click on it and move it this way and that way. Now I want to zoom in a little bit here so you can see what we're doing. Now that's a little bit awkward to try to move it around and get it exactly into place. You have to keep moving around. So what you do is we're going to delete that now. Right click, delete, get rid of that one, and we're going to duplicate it again. Duplicate objects. And there's this little magnet up here. What you want to do is click that, and that snaps things into place. And sometimes if you're having a little bit of trouble just snapping it right into place, you can use the location just to very carefully move it. And then you can click on this, spin around. Now I'm going to get rid of that again. Delete, and I'm going to duplicate that once more. Duplicate objects. You can lift it right up and then it'll snap into place. And it snaps easier into place when you view it from one flat side. Turn it this way and you can see that it's snapped into place. And I'm going to want to zoom out to give us more space. Duplicate that once more and lift it up and snap it into place. Okay, now what I'm going to want to do is build kind of a column here, but I also want to make a background. So you can highlight all three at a time and move them upwards. And I want one more cube here, and I want the other cube not to be a duplicate, but just a new one. So I go up to Add, Mesh, Cube, and I've got one more cube here. Just going to lower it down a little bit, and I want this one to be a lot bigger and flatter. So I click on here, and I'm going to do it through these attributes. So I want it to be a lot wider. Doesn't really matter how big. You can actually type in numbers here if you want. You can make sure that these are the same. So you do 6, so they're nice and square. And then I want it to be quite thin. And you can see as it hasn't quite reached the bottom of that. And now if you want, you can just raise this up. And you can see when you've gotten to the bottom of it, like that. There we go. And now what I want to do is I want to put the cylinder on top of this and then put one of these on the very top. So I need to back up a little bit, and I go into here, Add, Mesh, Cylinder. And since I'm still snapping, it'll just go up to the top there. I can take that, duplicate it, snap that on top. Sometimes you need to get into place. And I think I'll take one more, duplicate it, and drop it on top. Now if you want to shift the entire view up and down, you press and hold Shift and then click on the wheel and move the scene around. Okay. So, there you go. So that should be snapped into place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some textures on there. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll add one more of these. Duplicate. I have a second one there, and I drop it on the top. Now you can see it's not square, and here is how you can fix it. Look at the exact coordinates of this, just the X and the Y, and look at the coordinates of this, and put these both at 0. And so now when you back up, you'll see that they should be equal to each other. I'm just going to take this camera and kind of move it out of the way. We don't need that. And we're going to take this light and move it out of the way. And I want to put a background behind here, and then we're going to put textures on the background. So now I go into Add a plane. You see I've got a small plane in the on the bottom there. And I want to make it a lot bigger. And then I want to move it out this way. And then I want to rotate it so that it comes up. And that's not the one. And you see here, you can rotate this. You can actually just type it in there to 90. And then you can just move it back into place. Now I think I want this to be a lot wider and a little bit not quite so long. Wider like this, and a little bit narrower, and then move it up and down. There we go. Oh, you can see we can move it in quite a lot. That'll be good enough for now. And I think I'll want one more background here. So this one I could just duplicate again and then move it out here, but I want to rotate it in a different direction. And again, make that 90, and then I can move it back. And remember, again, I'm pressing on the little wheel and then rotating, so I can move that in a little bit. So this doesn't matter too much where those are, just so you can see them, because I'm going to later duplicate this. Now, you want to take your light, here's your light, and move it a little bit back. And in order to activate the light, what you need to do is you need to put this into render. There's a button, there's the flat view, and here's the render view. So at this point, the light hasn't really done much yet. And the light, you can see here's how you transform it. You want to transform it from a point. You could try a sun, but a sun is really bright, or a spot. And then the spotlight is pointing the wrong direction. So what you need to do is take that spot, go here, and then just rotate it until it goes into the right spot. You could back it up a little bit. And then what we need to do with this light is we need to make it a great deal stronger. So we're going to put maybe 5,000 watts, and there you can see it's a little bit brighter. And so you can rotate it into place where you like it. Okay, now we're going to start putting some textures onto these. Now there's a lot of different ways you can actually work textures and images. But I'm going to work with photography. So I'm going to start on the bottom one, and down here there's what looks like a little planet. You just click on there, and here's where you're going to put a new texture on. Now you can load images, you can have preloaded materials are called, but I want to put new ones on, and I'm not going to put sort of regular textures. I'm going to put photographs on. So I can click this new, and this is going to be for the bottom, and I think I'd like to have a wood texture on there. So you go down to this base color, little yellow dot, and you click on image texture, and then it'll highlight here, and then you need to open an image, and I've already got my bank of images in here. So I just have to go to desktop, textures, double click that, and I want to put real wood. So I'll do that, open it up, and you can see it's got a nice real wood texture. And now with this top one, if I want, I could put the same texture on right here. You can see I've got my little list of materials. So far I've only got one. And there you can see I have both of them. And then in this background, I'll probably want to put kind of like a nice palm tree or something. So I will go again to new, base color, image texture, and then I have to open this, and probably a beach scene would be kind of nice. There you go. Now it came out kind of sideways. So sometimes you just have to fix that. With linear, you can put it closest if you like to make it a little bit more clear. But if it's sideways like that, for some reason you just click box, well, that one's now upside down. So what I could do with this is then rotate it 180 degrees. You're never quite sure exactly. So what I'll just put on there is -90. See, and that flipped it right around. There you go. And on this one, I think I'll put a little bit of it, go down to this planet again, put new, basic color, image texture, open, desktop, textures, and I'm going to pick one randomly. I have no idea what this is going to be. Okay, so that's a nice winter scene, but that one also came out sideways, so then I just put box. Now it's upside down, so I'll take this again and flip this one to be, well, let's see what happens here. -90. There we go. Flipped it the right way. Now if I want, I could make this thing a little bit, stretch it out a little bit so it fits the other one. There you have a nice winter scene and a beach scene. And so let's put some other textures onto these. So this one, the bottom one, will... So I think I'd like a grass texture on there. And I also want a grass texture on this one, so I can just take that material, put grass on there, and I think this one, I might want something a little bit different. Maybe again a wood texture. And I think on these ones, I'll probably want maybe the winter scene. Same one here again. Or I could do something totally different. And so what happened here is when I changed the photograph for that material, it changed the image on all of the surfaces that used same material. Now, since I want to keep that same material for the bricks, what I'm going to do is put new photograph onto the material for the background, scenery, another winter scene. There, I'll make those ones brick, and those ones I have to make flat. There you go. Now those are brick. Now, I'm going to make a few more of these column structures so we can create a building. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how you can highlight this entire setup here, and then you can go duplicate objects and just move it along. There you go. So you can start making a little bit more of a structure with that. Now what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to move this a little bit further back, I'm going to take the entire structure here, holding down, of course, Shift, then right-click, duplicate objects, and then might have to do a little bit of micro adjustment there. There we go. And then if you like, you could move this entire thing over a little bit to make it fit in a little bit better. And if you want to increase the candle power, you could. You just click in here, 10,000. Now, you could do that as an area light, as a spotlight, as sun, but as soon as you put sun, it's going to be way too bright, or point. If you want to put sun, you probably want this at about 200. Even that's too high. Maybe go 50, or even 2. There you go. So now you can make a few micro adjustments here. Again, remember, hit Shift and then the wheel to move it back and forth like this. So we could probably make these a little bit smaller so they fit better. And you can bring this around and then bring these images in slightly more so that they really, wrong one there. So they fit kind of like walls. And then you could build some furniture and put that in there. And if you want to change things around a little bit, you can put a little bit of a different material in some of those. Maybe put some wood in there. And you can rename these if you like, so that when you go down here, it'll say wood. That probably makes it a little bit easier. And then with the light, you can work a little bit with the blend. You can make it softer or sharper. You can work with the size of it, with the radius, with the scale of it. And then again with the power of it. So if you back up, you can actually see things you've done with the light. There you go.